In this video I'm going to show you how to add profiles, add accounts, add proxies and create tasks within SoulSneakers. The first tab I'm going to show you is the settings tab, which is quite straightforward. The positive webhook is where your success will go. The negative webhook is where your declines or failures will go, and concurrent tasks is how many tasks will run at once within the bot. Set the number of concurrent tasks to a number that your PC can handle. This is the number of tasks that go through the opening phase of opening the browser and getting ready to enter the drop at once. Using this helps to decrease the strain on your PC. However, if your PC is very slow, you might not want to use this at all and instead just start tasks one by one. But if you have a decent PC, you can set the concurrent task number pretty high. The next is the billing tab. To create a new profile, hit the blue new profile button, and then you'll be able to edit it using the profile editor on the right. You can name the profile and then enter your first name, last name, address line 1, address line 2, or leave that blank if you don't have one, city, zip code and country. If your country requires a state, you can also add it here. The button here, billing same as shipping, will mean that the billing is the same as the shipping, so you won't have to fill in the billing tab. If your billing address is different, you can untick this and then you'll be able to add a new address and new details for billing. Here is payment. This is where you can enter the name on the card, card number, expiry month, expiry year, the card type and the CVV. Once you've done so, hit save. You'll know it's saved as this will be updating on the left as you enter these details. You can use the purple button if you wish to edit a profile. You can use the blue button to duplicate the profile and the pink button to delete the profile. If you're switching between PCs, it might also be useful to import and export tasks. You can export tasks using this right button, and then if I delete the profiles, I can import them again here, and they'll be exactly as I entered them before. Also to note, under the profiles tab, under the details for payment, there's also the PayPal option. You can select this if you wish to use PayPal within the browsers when you're completing the checkout. It's best to run as close to one task per profile as possible, so the card details being different on each different profile that you have. However, if you can't do this, which a lot of people can't because they don't have many cards, you can run more if need be. But if you do have enough cards, I would advise running as close to one task per profile as possible. The importing and exporting is also detailed further within the Discord server. The next tab is the accounts tab. This is pretty simple. You can import accounts on the right using the format email followed by password with a colon separating them, so it's email colon password. Once you've added them all on a separate line, you can click import accounts and they'll be shown here on the left. Similarly to the billing profiles, you can export them here. Then if I were to delete them, I can simply import them here. This is useful if you're switching machines or going between servers and PCs a lot. You also need to buy verified accounts, so each account that you use has to be verified, which means it has a real phone number attached to it that's verified. We have some providers in the Discord, such as Cop with Kyle, who will provide you with these accounts. They're often discounted for SoulSneakers members. The next tab is the proxies tab. To import, use the proxy import on the right. This is very similar to accounts, in which you just want to paste them in here, one on each line. You can either use IP auth proxies, which will just be IP colon port, or user pass proxies, which will be IP colon port colon user colon pass. Once you've pasted them in here, you can import the proxies and they'll appear on the left. Here you can test them and delete them. If you want to test all the proxies, use the purple button at the top. If you want to test a single proxy, use the blue button here to see how fast it is. You can delete them with this pink icon. Similar to the other tabs, you can also export using this button. Then if I delete it, I can import it here. Also note that proxies are needed for each task, one task per IP, so you want the same amount of proxies as you do tasks. This brings us to the final page, which is the home page and where you'll create your tasks. In the task creator, you'll first want to input the link for the release. This is region specific, so you'll want to make sure you get the correct link for your region. These are posted in the guides in the Discord, simply paste it in here. Then you can choose which size you want. You can choose random, smallest, largest, or a specific size. You can also choose a random or specific proxy from the proxies you entered in the proxy tab earlier. Here you'll select which account is being used for this task, along with the profile. I'll come back to the Use All Profiles button in a minute. Here you can choose how many tasks will be made with this specific setup, so 1 will create a singular task, whereas 5 will create 5 tasks with this exact setup. And finally the release timer, which you will need to use on drop so that browsers open in advance and log in and get ready to enter. Back to the Use All Profiles button, this will create 1 task for each profile you have loaded with this exact task setup. It cycles through all of the profiles, creating 1 task per profile. It uses no proxy, random proxy, or cycles through proxy if a proxy is selected, and then cycles through the accounts. So for example, I have 5 profiles loaded. I'm going to use the Use All Profiles button, and I want 2 tasks for each profile. This is then going to create 10 tasks, 2 with each of my profiles here. As you can see, 2 for that profile, 2 for the next, and so on. When you're setting the release timer, you will want to set the time to the exact time of the release, or 1 to 3 seconds after if your PC time is late. You can check the exact time at time.is and it will tell you how far ahead or behind your clock is. It might be wise setting the time on the timer to a couple of seconds after the release if you're in doubt, just to make sure that you don't try and enter too early. Click the Start All button, or start them all one by one, 10 plus minutes before the drop. Any time less than 2 hours is good, or any longer may cause problems, so do it between 2 hours and 10 minutes before the drop. Tasks will then open the browsers and get ready to enter, and then sit on waiting. I'll now show you an example. So once you've got the time set to the release, so for example this would be 8 AM, you can create your tasks. Then you can use the Start All button or start them separately. When you do so, a browser will open for each task, it will log into the account, and it will prepare to enter for the release. You'll be able to see the status in the bot is waiting, so this will be counting down to the release time. As soon as the waiting time gets to 0, it will click Submit Order. This is why it's important that the release is set to the exact time or a few seconds after, as if it tries to enter the release before it's actually live, the task will fail to enter. Here in the status you'll be able to see once they've successfully entered, and then you'll see how many tasks, entries and winners you have using these stats here.